here. This will be your only opportunity.
Ms. Whitby, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Gibson,
Gibson is here.
Yielding,
Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and glory forever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So moved.
Second. Minutes of the previous meeting, moved by Alderman Height, seconded by Alderman Berry. Please call the roll.
Gibson,
Yes.
Yielding,
Yes.
Dobbins,
Yes.
Thomas, Barry,
Yes.
Vestal,
Yes.
Height,
Yes.
and Witcher.
Yes.
Ms. Whitby, I'd like to go ahead and take care of the communications, and if you could, pull number 3.
Okay.
If I could have a motion for on the remaining 3 items.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Gibson,
Yes.
Yielding,
Yes.
Dobbins,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Vestal,
Yes.
Height,
Yes.
and Witcher.
Yes.
Ms. Whitby, if you could please read number 3.
Number 3 is a letter dated August 23, 2002. Ms. Diane Whitby, members of the North Little Rock City Council, City Hall. Dear Ms. Whitby and Alderman, this is to advise that I will be out of town on Monday, August 26, 2002, the date of the regularly scheduled City Council meeting. Alderman Tony Vestal will be presiding over the City Council meeting in my absence. I am asking Ms. Whitby to call the legislation that I have filed as a sponsor and request that you give it favorable consideration. Thanking you in advance, I remain sincerely, Patrick Henry Hayes, Mayor.
Could I have a motion?
Move accept and file.
Second.
On the motion?
Gibson,
Yes.
Yielding, Dobbins,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Vestal,
Yes.
Height,
Yes.
and Witcher.
Yes.
Mr. Vestal, we need to read number 4 simply because it involves a PUD. Plan unit development
Okay.
change, design change.
All right. Ms. Whitby, could we please read number 4? We'll take a little,
Yes, sir.
make a little point of order here.
This is a memorandum to Mayor Hayes and the City Council from Robert Boyles, the Planning Department, August 26, 2002. The subject is the current design for Scott Miller's PUD. This is to advise that the Planning Department has received the attached rendering as the current plan for Scott Miller's home and office at 214 West 5th Street. The architect has reported that this plan will retain a 6-foot side yard setback on the east side. Staff believes this is in substantial compliance with the perimeters for granting the planned unit development.
May I have a motion, and then if we'd like for discussion?
Move accept and file, and I'd like to discuss it.
Second.
The floor is yours, Alderman.
Mr. Vols, architect has reported this plan will retain a 6-foot side yard setback on the east side. I believe the original plan is it would be on both sides, at least a 5-foot on both sides of the property, and I'm talking about a 5-foot that's totally unencumbered. There's no air conditioning units in front of it or anything, and this plan doesn't tell us that.
No, it doesn't exactly show that. I called the architect this afternoon, and one of his staff members said that it's that side that I was concerned about, where the bay window is shown. That's the addition. He said that would still retain a 6-foot on that east side, so that meets our city standards.
Has this plan been shown to the neighborhood there?
A few people in the neighborhood have been passing that around in the last week.
what is his time schedule on proceeding with this? Is he waiting on us, or is he still in design phase?
They're designing.
I'd like to hold this for our next meeting then, and give the neighbors an opportunity to have a discussion in regard to it.
Okay.
I have a question. You referred to, in the first, when we approved this, there was going to be a fence on both sides, right?
No,
No, separation.
what my whole concern was, and particularly as much downtown as anywhere else, but more downtown because we require it everywhere else, is that we are requiring them to have a 5-foot on each side of this property that doesn't have an air conditioner in the middle of it or anything else that would encumber us being able to get some type of firefighting equipment. But be people and hoses and stuff between these houses, because while we have been very lucky downtown and in many areas of the city, we find ourselves in real problems in trying to get water into the necessary places to fight it. This is a planned unit development. It's a little unusual from the things that we do. Any design change requires the approval of this city council.
I understand that.
I'm going to ask that this be held, that this communication be held until next meeting and be refiled to give the neighborhood an opportunity to be able to visit with it before we approve it.
Okay, but my question was, in the original design, was there to be a fence on both sides of this property, or just on the one east side?
I don't know.
And is he changing from a 5-foot fence to a 6-foot fence on that east side?
That's a setback.
Setback.
Change is
Setback.
they're adding a bay window.
They're adding what they've done, if you'll look at the plans, they're adding a bay window which will it appears will take in the make a beautiful method of having a staircase that goes up to the second floor. And basically, in looking at the plan,
So the setback then is the,
Yes.
side yard or front yard setback or whatever.
Anyone else? Alderman Gilman?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Charlie, that was the setback is the question,
not the fence.
how much space you leave between those buildings, so in case you have a fire.
You know, need to get emergency equipment down
Well,
through there.
yeah, think about the guy next door. You wanna be able to take care of fighting this one, but save the one next door too, so you just don't want it crammed up in a lot of places. There's too much stuff.
I believe my motion would be that this be held and refiled as a communication for next council meeting,
Second.
and that it be distributed to the neighborhood for them to have an opportunity to speak at the next meeting.
On the question regarding communication number four?
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Dobbins?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Right now, I'd like to go into the special call so we can get that out of the way before we have a presentation.
Okay. This is a letter dated August 21, 2002, honorable members of the City Council regarding special council meeting. Dear members of the City Council, this is to advise that we have called a special council meeting on the North Little Rock City Council for 7:05 p.m. August 26, 2002 at City Hall, Council Chambers, North Little Rock, Arkansas. The following will be on the agenda. A resolution accepting the low bid of CWR Construction for rehabilitation of the historic Argenta Fire Station in the amount of $536,000, accepting the low bid of Mid-South Environmental for asbestos abatement in the amount of $9,600, approving architectural fees in the amount of $50,000, and appropriating necessary funds for these purposes. Respectfully submitted by Martin Gibson, Greg Yielding, Olin Thomas, and Dwayne Dobbins, and the special call has been signed by all 8 aldermen.
We'd like it called, please.
Would you please read the legislation?
This is a resolution accepting the low bid of CWR Construction for rehabilitation of the historic Argenta Fire Station in the amount of $536,000, accepting the low bid of Mid-South Environmental for asbestos abatement in the amount of $9,600 and approving architectural fees in the amount of $50,000 and appropriating necessary funds for these purposes.
Move for adoption.
Second.
On the motion?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
Okay, now, we have two special visitors with us this evening from the North Little Rock Chamber of Commerce. Kay Smith and Robert Swan, if y'all would please step up to the microphone. I guess Mr. Swan's going to be a little shy this evening. But y'all are all the chairman of the North Little Rock Trade Show Committee, I would assume, and y'all are here to update us on the activities upcoming.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank y'all for letting us be here tonight. And on behalf of the North Little Rock Chamber of Commerce Market Arkansas Committee, Robert Swan and I would like to present y'all with one of these lovely T-shirts. So, and we would ask that you wear those pretty much everywhere you go, especially any place that's really appropriate. But we need your help in promoting this show. It is the Chamber events, the 15th annual Market Arkansas, put on by the North Little Rock Chamber of Commerce. It's a business expo. 3 years ago, we moved from Fisher Armory to Alltel Arena, and at that time, after that, we started getting exhibitors from all over the state. So we felt like this year it was more appropriate if we just changed the name to Market Arkansas. We do have 136 booths. We are sold out this year, which we're very excited about. We started a waiting list. So anyone that may be interested in getting on the waiting list needs to call our chamber office. Occasionally at the last minute somebody does need to drop out. So we do encourage you to do that. It has grown to be one of the largest, best attended business expos in the state. It's going to be held on September the 12th at Alltel Arena. The hours are from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and there's no admission. The day before we have what we call our kickoff. It's our Taste of the Town, and it is on Wednesday night, September the 11th, and it's from 5:30 to 7:30. There is a $12 admission for this, but for that you get an awful lot to eat and drink. We have 20 restaurants there this year, 7 drink distributors. So for $12 you get to do a lot of eating, drinking, and socializing. It will be held on the arena floor, so you get to view the exhibits and visit with, literally thousands. We have a couple of thousand people last year for that, several thousand people for the Business Expo. So even if you aren't able to get a booth this year, you need to come, and it's a great networking opportunity for all businesses. We have all different types of businesses represented there. Did I mention that the tickets for our Taste of the Town were $12 a piece? I think I did. But in case you have not bought your tickets yet, call the chamber office, and they will take care of you there.
Do you have that number?
I sure do. It's area code 501-372-5959. We also have a website this year. You can go to the chamber website, which is nlrchamber.org, and we have our little Market Arkansas icon on there. You can click on there, and it will give you all the information, list all the exhibitors, tell you all about Taste of the Town and all the different restaurants that will be there, and pretty much answer all your questions. But like I said, if you don't want to do the web thing, you can always call our chamber office at 372-5959. We would like to invite everybody that's watching, all of the audience, and especially you councilmen, to attend the show. What did I forget? Okay. And we will have these cards on the table back here, so you can pick it up and have the phone number and the dates and times and everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
One of the things that we did, in cooperation with the Arkansas Economic Development Corporation, they're going to be one of our co-sponsors. And in the lobby where you come down the tunnel off Washington Avenue, there'll be an exhibit of the William Jefferson Clinton Library. There'll be an architectural rendering of that. The Axiom building will have a display. The Heifer International Project is going to have a display. There'll be one there from Commercial Corporation of their new building. A lot of new development. Jonesboro, the new Nestle's chocolate plant is going to have a display. So there'll be a lot of things that are going to have a big economic impact, not only on the state, but it's going to be in Little Rock too, because people are going to come here for the library. It's going to be an educational center. There's going to be a lot of things going on, and this will give the people in Little Rock and North Little Rock a chance to see some of the development that we have coming. It's going to be great, and I do invite everybody to attend the shows, no charge. Last year we had over, I believe we had about 8,000 people through there. This is the third largest trade show in the state. It's a great show.
Well, I know y'all have always done an excellent job. I've attended that a couple of times. Man, I would encourage everyone to go because it's fascinating to see some of the people and what they're doing in this city, and how encouraging it is. And we could always use the extra opportunities for growth and expansion of our city.
The best part is it's all done with volunteers, all of it. These T-shirts, the sponsors on the back, appreciate your patronizing these sponsors. The move-in committee is going to be done by the North Little Rock Senior High School and the United States Marine Corps Reserve. They're going to be helping us with move-in. Nobody has to move their own stuff. It's just all volunteer. It's a great program.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank
We
you very
appreciate
much.
y'all coming. Ms. Whitby, I believe now we'll go to old business.
Resolution 0298, it's Mayor Hayes. This is declaring certain buildings, houses, and other structures located in the city of North Little Rock to constitute a public nuisance and condemning said structures.
I believe we've held that 4 times, and this will be the 5th time we've held this legislation.
Yes, sir.
Does anyone have any comments about this?
Is this the 21 Culver Loop? We didn't read that. Is that the
Yes.
one, Culver?
That's Miss Barbie's property.
We got that,
She's obtained the permit to do the demolition, but
We're still waiting on
she hasn't got the dumpster yet.
The dumpster's not available for her, is it?
Should be.
The dumpster's available?
Well, it's not a residence, I understand. It's a church. Is that to hold up on it?
It was a residence that went into it.
So she just needs to come to your office to apply for a dumpster.
She's been advised of that several times. I just don't know what else to do.
Well, let's do what we can to get this thing moving, even if we have to
You can go ahead and
deliver the
still
letter
pass
ourselves.
If you pass this, this gives her 30 days to
Right.
get something started.
Right. Might encourage her to go ahead and do it.
Gentlemen, I'll leave that up to you.
Mr. Thomas, it's in your wards.
Yeah, and I'm going to vote against it one more time at least.
hold it 2 more
Let's
weeks.
hold it another meeting.
Hold it again.
Okay, Mr. Whitby, we're going to hold that legislation
Okay.
one more time.
All right. Next item is ordinance 0256. This was Mayor Hayes. It's been read one time.
Mr. Boyles?
Yes, sir.
Do we want to read this again and then hold it, or
Vote on it.
I think we're planning to vote on it. Do you want to
ready
hold
to
it?
go vote on it?
No.
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Whitby, would you please read that?
This is an ordinance adopting the amended land use plan for the East Argenta area of the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. Second reading.
I make a motion that the rule is suspended and placed on the third reading. Second.
On the motion?
Gibson,
Yes.
Gilding,
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
Witcher.
Yes.
An ordinance adopting the amended land use plan for the East Argenta area of the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. Third and final reading.
Could I have a motion? I'll call on the motion, please.
Gibson.
Yes.
Gilding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
On the emergency, Gibson.
Yes.
Gilding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal. Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
Next item, ordinance 0257, Mayor Hayes. It was read one time.
We need to call that one.
Call it, please.
This is an ordinance rezoning certain property being about 3 city blocks south of Arkansas Avenue between Vine and Hickory and fronting the Arkansas River in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas from R4 to C6 to allow for a mixed-use residential and commercial development by amending ordinance number 3171 of the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. Second reading.
Move to suspend the rules, place it on its third and final reading.
Second.
On the motion?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
An ordinance rezoning certain property being about 3 city blocks south of Arkansas Avenue between Vine and Hickory and fronting the Arkansas River in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas from R4 to C6 to allow for a mixed-use residential and commercial development by amending ordinance number 3171 of the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. Third and final reading.
Alderman
Mr.
Gibson, I
Vestal,
believe you
we
have
have an amendment, and to change, it's going from R4 and I2 to C6. And we discussed this at the last city council meeting. To facilitate that, we have a new ordinance that's typed and correct. It's been written and distributed. That's the change in it. So I move this as a amendment.
It just cleared up the typos.
Do I have a second?
Second.
On the amendment?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes, move for adoption as amended.
Second.
On the motion?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
And on the emergency, Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
I believe we go to new business.
Yes, sir. Resolution 0128, and this is Alderman Witcher and Height.
Call it, please.
A resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to make application to the Arkansas Department of Parks and Tourism for grant to develop recreational facilities.
We'd like to amend this, please, with a letter and there it is, with a letter dated August 23rd, an application revised to reflect $150,000, and then a new projection distribution sheet and a schematic of the park. Amend.
I'll
Do I have a
second
second
that.
on the amendment?
I'll
Then
second.
we'd like to discuss this.
I guess I was going to ask it. I looked at this letter, and all of the other items, it's not on here. Where does the money come from? Does the Parks Department, do they pay that?
May I speak?
Mr. Witcher?
Okay. The state of Arkansas has in its treasury a 1/8 cent sales tax, which is specifically required to be used for recreational opportunities. And that's the only thing the money can be spent for. And this money, our matching amount, will be used as a grant. We have set aside already in our parks budget, and Bob, you'll probably need to help me on this, $40,000 to go into the soccer complex. Along with that, there's a water project that will be used to as part of our in-kind match fund, which is the $35,000 that we were going to build, and the money had already been appropriated and set aside for the water lines to feed 2 additional bathrooms, I guess on the northeast corner, and then adjacent to the dog park, which is also adjacent to the ski area. And that's what constitutes the money. As you see in the explanation for the projects. Bob, why don't you go into that and use your schematic that you have?
Okay, this is a schematic. Just to summarize real quick, it covers expansion of the disc golf course by 18 holes. This would just be clearing of some underbrush and setting the holes and equipment going towards the advertising and promotion building in that area. That was the number 1 priority. Number 2 is a dog park, which is located here. This is the new road going through the soccer complex, coming across to the golf course. Then our match, where we were going to put in the water line ourselves, the only expense would be for the pipe. and it comes from here along here, which will serve as 2 restrooms as well as the dog park. And then also, in this project is Burns Park Tennis Center. Their advisory committee came to us and requested an upgrade on the outdoor lights. And then the Central Arkansas Volleyball Association has asked for some additional sand volleyball courts in the area. And those are what it's for. The money comes, again, $40,000 from hamburger tax, originally appropriated for a planning, a site plan of Burns Park. And then the $35,000 is in kind, which would leverage us to get a $75,000, hopefully, state grant.
And now this is a pre-application application?
That's what it is, pre-application. They meet and will review it. They have a state commission that reviews all the grant requests, and then we will know in approximately December if we receive the grant. They can grant all or part of it. With the money has been put down in priority order. We had the most support from the disc golf people, and there's several here if they want to stand. There may also be some people supporting the dog park. I'm not sure, and I'm not anybody from the tennis advisory committees here. But
Any other questions? On the amendment?
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Dobbins?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Move for adoption as amended.
Second.
On the question?
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Dobbins?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Next item is Resolution 02-129, Mayor Hayes. This is
So hold that.
We need to call that one also.
We need to call this one.
a resolution stating that the North Little Rock City Council has no intention of exercising its right of eminent domain to acquire any of the development tract which is set forth in the contract authorized by Resolution 6332.
Move for adoption.
Second.
On the question?
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Dobbins?
I'm going to vote no on that.
Okay. Thomas?
Move forward. I don't know much about it, but I'm voting for it.
Well, do you want to back up a discussion?
Yeah, let's discuss this a little bit, because I feel like,
Okay,
Point
I'll
of order.
explain it.
Mr. Vestal, back when we were in negotiations to buy the property at the bottom of the railroad bridge, the two families that owned the majority, actually the three families that own the majority of the property, says, you know, we will sell you this property for the appraised value. But in doing so, we want the adjacent piece of property to be able to develop something under a C6 scenario. We've already rezoned the property. We've gone through and fixed approved the land use plan for the entire operation. But they're, as any developer who has that kind of piece of property, they are trying to put it together as a package. It takes a pretty good sized piece of property to do a hotel or an aquarium or something. And they're saying, we want to do this, but we don't want to get in the middle of spending the money for all the plans, and the city says, oh, well, we need another 50 foot or we need another 100 foot. And that's simply what this is about, of just saying, hey, guys, let's have an understanding that you have no intentions at this point of coming in and acquiring that property by eminent domain. And that's simply what this is.
I got the floor. As city attorney, just by the wording of this, it says no intention, but that does not preclude us or stop us at some future date if the need arises to better North Little Rock.
Yes, that's correct.
We could go into, or the city would go into procedures for eminent domain.
Yeah, that's correct. And the selling party is aware of that. That's why we agreed to the no intentions. It's kind of passing this resolution, that's what's just a resolution, kind of a moral obligation that, look, we negotiated in good faith to acquire this property, and they just want to make sure that the amount of money they've spent, time acquiring the property, getting it rezoned, getting the rezoning, working with Robert Boyle's office to where, look, the city's not going to come in and take it. And let's face it, we want development down there. So the reason this resolution is, and this is part of the contract, we agreed to pass this. But this is just saying it's our intent as a council that we're not going to come in and take the property.
My concern was that if they got into, and it's happened before on the river, where a person just put some earnest money down and just held the land, and it's still there, and we haven't been able to move on that development. I don't want that same thing to happen or preclude any development on this piece of land. That's why I'm a little cautious about using the words, taking away our right of eminent domain. Now I understand it's probably more or less just an intent of that. And I want to make that clear to everyone. Yeah. The intent says that we don't plan on doing it, but it doesn't stop us from doing it in case that need arises to push the project along. I may not be on this council at that time when it happens, but I just want to put my 2 cents in on it.
Well, Olin first, he did.
I was going to say, I agree 100% with that, because any time that the private developer can do the job, I think the city should stay out. And I know that they have, they've made plans there, and I would wholeheartedly agree with that the private developer do it and not take something, use the power of eminent domain if we can possibly avoid it.
Alderman Gibson?
These people own this property. This is not, I mean, this is their property. They own it. This is not a pie in the sky where they're going out and making an application to buy land from the city to be able to do something with. These people own this property, and we agreed to this when we made the contract back in probably June to acquire that property, and I fully intend to honor my part of that commitment.
The word intent, of course, bothers me a little bit, because I don't know if we ought to come back and change our mind, because we're telling them to go ahead that we're not going to do that. And so anyway, that's, I guess.
I'd rather the word intent not been in there, but as you're well aware, this council can't preclude what some council 10 or 15 years from now will do. I believe we have a motion and a second.
Could we go and rescind our current votes and start over?
Mayor, point of privilege, we're just going to pretend like the first three votes didn't matter.
Okay, maybe we start all over.
Start over.
Tell Mayor. Do-over. We're going to have a do-over.
I don't think that's in my Robert rules. It's in the Pat Hayes
This
book.
is the city council rules there, Alderman.
Everybody knows who wrote it.
All right, let's stop making fun of the mayor.
We're allowed one gimmick, aren't we?
Mr. Vessel, as a point of order, in order to keep the record clean, let's expunge the record, start over again. Can we? I would make that motion.
I'll second that.
On the motion to expunge the previous 4 votes?
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Dobbins?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Gentlemen, do I have a motion?
Motion?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second on the question.
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Dobbins?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Next item is Resolution 02130, Mayor Hayes.
Call it, please.
A resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to extend the economic development rate for electricity supplied to Polymer Group Incorporated, Chicopee Incorporated, for a period not to exceed 60 days.
Move for adoption. Second.
On the question?
May I ask a question, please? Ms. Woodard, are they staying current with us now? Or should I not ask that question?
Oh, let's ask that question.
That's a good question.
Let Mr. Sisson answer that.
Was that a big gulp?
Give the same answer he gave me when I asked that Thursday afternoon.
Their bill was due last Tuesday, and as of today, we haven't received it.
I voiced that concern, Mr. Witcher, with Mr. Sisson last Thursday in a kind of a budget review meeting. They are under Chapter 11. If they don't pay their current bill, they are in contempt of court, if I understand correctly.
We can shut them off.
We can shut them off, but we can do more than shut them off. We've got the problem with the previous bankruptcy, which was $200,000. They have 100 and how much thousand in?
150. Yeah, 11.
100 plus thousand in a deposit. If we shut them off, we shut down the plant, and those people are out of jobs. And it's my understanding under Chapter 11 they have to pay that bill, and they have to pay it within 10 days. And that 10 days is now up.
No, their due date was Tuesday.
Okay, Mr. Sisson, can you give me, I need a little better understanding. Their bill, they receive a bill, and that bill is due within,
The bill was sent out right around the first of the month.
so the Tuesday was the
due date of the
was the due date.
And I did, I got a note from the assistant city attorney, I should have checked it, that it was supposed to be in at 2 o'clock this afternoon. I'm sorry I didn't check, but I just slipped my mind, and I tried to call the people who received it downstairs, and I didn't get a hold of them, so it was supposed to be here at 2 o'clock today.
And I'm sorry, and I apologize for not calling and asking you all this before council meeting.
Sir, do you have a comment you would like to make on this legislation?
Thank you, Alderman. Randy Morley. I'm representing Chicopee with respect to this economic development extension. When I found out from Mr. Sisson, when I got here to the meeting tonight, that there was some question as to whether the current bill had been paid, I told him I'd contact the folks at the plant down here tomorrow morning and find out and let you know.
When does the mayor get back in town? Tuesday?
Yes.
This will be waiting on his desk, not he'll be waiting at his house when he shows back up on Monday night then. This is there has to be a point to where economic development or not economic development, you have to pay your bills. And so I guess that what we need to advise Chicopee is that we expect them to honor the 10-day period of having their check here at the office, and if not, that the city has a prerogative to turn off their electricity.
I'll be communicating with Kirkland and Ellis in Chicago in the morning to find out exactly what's going on. But you're right. I mean, regardless of the rate.
Yeah. But as far as extending their rate, that's fine. I mean, but the secondary issue is that I understand they're in a Chapter 11 reorganization. They're trying to get their current financing to continue operation.
And in fact, the representations that have been made to me out of Chicago are that basically the plan has been approved as submitted. So, quite frankly, I'm somewhat confused as to why this payment is as late as it is. But I can check on that, and we'll do so.
Mr. City Attorney, you have any comment?
No. I mean, just the reason we've had this delay is I've specifically asked, let's not renegotiate this rate till we get a plan worked out so that they can give us additional assurances through the courts. They have given us those additional assurances, and part of that is if they're late, we can automatically take the $100,000+ deposit that they've given the city. That's part of what we had worked out through the bankruptcy court. So if they are late, we can instantly hold that $100,000+.
Alderman Gilman?
How much is the bill?
$60,000 a week or so.
The bill will be somewhere in the center, $250,000, and I'm sorry, I don't know exactly.
Yeah, well, I don't want to end up like another instance that we had where we lose everything. So, I mean, if they're not going to pay it, I mean, even if we just shut them off and take their deposit, we're still at a loss. But I'd rather be at that much of a loss as letting it go for a month or 2 or 3 or 4, or quite a few. That doesn't need to happen. As much as I understand that people need jobs and everything else, it's not right for every other business. So, you know.
They will either pay yes, or I will be in contact with the city attorney
okay.
in the morning. I should have contacted this afternoon.
That's fine.
When does the current contract?
Fine, but then in this rate, we're not saying
Or
either way whether they pay their bill or not. We're just extending the rate grace period to 60 days, right?
Yeah,
that's correct.
This doesn't have anything to do actually with the payment of the bill.
Just leave status quo would affect for 6 months.
We're talking
in
about
relation to
different
the rate alone.
It's a catch-22. It's a catch-22. If we say no, then we're going to damage the economic situation for the plant and the employees. If we say yes, we run the risk of.
Oh, no. We're
not at risk.
We're only talking about the rate.
I understand that, but they're going to have future bills.
If I may?
We're not talking about bill, I'm sorry.
Talking about the rate. I'm at the rate.
Alderman, if I may, please. Let's stick to the task at hand, and regardless of whether or not they paid their bill, This legislation will still stand, and I believe that the mayor and the finance director of this city will make that decision, and they'll probably make it in the best interest of the city, as they always have. So if I could have a motion to vote on this legislation, please.
Motion.
Second.
On the legislation?
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Dobbins?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Next item is Resolution 02-131, Alderman Thomas and Dobbins.
Please call it.
A resolution repealing Resolution Number 6361, which declared 6516 Delhaven Street a nuisance and condemned it.
Move for adoption.
You want to explain that to them?
Sure do.
Hear it. Yeah, I sure want to hear it.
Open the mic for discussion. Alderman. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, my name is Joel Stevenson, and I was bidded on this house through a divorce, and I was awarded in July 11th of this year, and I would like for you all to give me a chance to fix the home back up, because my daughter and grandson need a place to stay, and I'm going to give it to them, because I recently remarried. So, and like I talked with Felicia, I just received this letter through my ex-husband. You know, I didn't know that all this was going on. So after I got the house through the auction, July 11th, I went down there and cleaned the house out, and I'm prepared to fix the house back up so my daughter and grandson could live in the house, if you all would give me that chance.
Any comment from the council?
No, Mike, I'd second the motion. Let's vote.
I must say this. I guess I don't know how I got on there, but anyway, I called the neighbors out there to see if they had any objection, and the neighbors in the area didn't have any objection to our giving you that extension. Like I said, I didn't know about it until I got got our packet that it was on there, so I did take to the neighbors. I thought that would be the proper ones, and they didn't object. The ones I talked to, of giving you an opportunity to clean it up.
Okay.
Mr. Sykes, do you have any comments on this legislation? I have a motion and a second on the question.
Now, what are we voting on? I forgot.
Repeal it. Repeal of the condemnation.
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Dobbins?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Next item, Resolution 02-132, Mayor Hayes.
Before we call this legislation, 132 through 136 are all condemnations, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Sussman? That's correct. So could we have one common public hearing for all four pieces of legislation, or all five?
No.
Yeah, that's correct. You can, and I'd just be sure that you call out each of the addresses particularly.
Okay.
I'd prefer to have them
Separately?
Yes, please. There's some legal issues that I'm a little more happy with.
Okay.
Excuse me.
I'll call a public hearing on 110 South Laurel. Anyone comment to the public hearing for 110 South Laurel? There being no one attempting to make comment, I'll close the hearing. We have a motion and a second, I believe.
I haven't read it yet.
So let's read the legislation.
Okay. This is a resolution declaring certain buildings, houses, and other structures located in the city of North Little Rock to constitute a public nuisance and condemning such structures, providing a period of time for property owner to abate said nuisance.
Move for adoption.
Second.
On the motion?
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Dobbins?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Next item, Resolution 02-133, Mayor Hayes.
Call it, please.
A resolution declaring certain buildings, houses, and other structures located in the city of North Little Rock to constitute a public nuisance and condemning said structures, providing a period of time for property owner to abate said nuisance.
We'll open a public hearing for the condemnation of 905 North F Street. Anyone wishing to make a comment? Yes, ma'am, if you could state your name.
Pearl Coffee. And they want to condemn the house, they say. It's This structure was put up in 91, I believe it was, 91, 92. And we've had a lot of problems with my baby brother that's on drugs that goes into the house, tear off the board. We go back over there, put it back on. And we've been doing this for a long time. But it is boards on there and the yard is cut and all of this. Now, we try to keep that up, but sometimes it gets where we have to go over and take care of it, you know. But it's not a old house. And the young lady that usually call me, she says she gets called, but I don't know who could be calling her to complain about the house.
Ma'am, believe, do you have any intent of rebuilding the structure or any
Yeah, we're trying to
way of
get,
financing that?
yeah, we're trying to get my, because it's our property, it's 9 of us. I don't think, I only talked to my brother that got a notice. They were supposed to send everybody a notice. Because they have all the children listed. I'm the oldest, and they have all the rest of them.
Ma'am, what address are you referring to?
905 F Street.
Oh. North F.
Okay.
That's that one. Which one are you referring to, Mike?
That's 905 North F.
I know, year before last, one of the enforcers come out to look at the house. That's what she was talking about doing. And the house next door is a real old house, and it was about to fall down. Anyway, I took her into the house. And she said, "This is a new house." I said, "Yeah." She said, "This is the one that should be condemned." That was year before last.
Ma'am, go ahead, Alden.
Mayor, I just wanted to make a suggestion that we could, seeing the condition of the house, give some type of extension to this as we've done before, at least 30 days to make some significant progress. If that progress has not been made, then code will have to basically do their job and bring that back to us with a report, whether it's some progress or not.
Mr. Festival?
Okay. Yeah, we'll lead this legislation here, yes.
Well, I would like to point out, this all began in 1998, and she has had significant time to remedy the situation,
Well, we
in my
have
opinion.
this one brother that's holding up the project that's on drugs.
5 years.
And seemed like he has a mental problem, and I had planned to get him into a hospital or something, and I ended up losing a brother and a niece within 1 week. Well, a week apart. They both died on the same day, a week apart. And then I ended up in the hospital with cancer. So I haven't been able to get anything done.
Ma'am, what we'll do, and the mayor, we don't like tearing down structures in this city if we can rehab them at all. And I am willing to hold this legislation till the next council meeting, at which time I will not be sitting here as mayor, but I will have the opportunity to call the legislation, I believe, if possible. Now, Mr. Sykes, would you please inform the council if there's not any progress at all made on this property? And, ma'am, I suggest you get your family together and get busy and try to get something started on this house.
Let's make sure everyone has the right understanding. If we go with the next council meeting, that's within the next 14 days. So,
Right. 14 days.
September the 9th.
You'll give them to the second council meeting in September?
No.
Give them to the next.
I need to ask her a question. Okay. Where do you live so that we could talk to you and let you know the problem?
I live 4100 Malloy.
4100 what?
Malloy, Malloy.
Hey,
In Little
is that
Rock.
North Little Rock?
Little Rock.
Oh, Little Rock. And you have relatives that would help you or to repair this house?
Yeah, you talking about completing the house? It needs
Make
work.
it livable and meet our codes and that we have to have. Give me your phone number so we can work with you because you,
Alderman, let's not reveal anyone's phone number over the microphone. Please.
she may not, do you want to give your phone number?
Mayor, if I may,
Yeah.
Mr. Sykes, have you spoken with this lady before? Would you raise your hand, please, sir? Ma'am, if you will speak to Mr. Sykes, he'll get all the pertinent information from you.
Okay.
And we'll.
But I want your phone number when we're finished, if you don't want me to get it now.
Okay.
With that, I'm going to close the public hearing on 905 North F Street, and we'll hold the legislation.
We'll hold
Next
it
item.
to the next council meeting.
Resolution 02134, Mayor Hayes.
Call it, please.
Resolution declaring certain buildings, houses, and other structures located in the city of North Little Rock to constitute a public nuisance and condemning said structures, providing a period of time for property owner to abate said nuisance.
Open a public hearing on 916 North F Street for condemnation. 916 North F. There being no one to make a comment on 916 F, I'm going to close the hearing.
It seems like we have, I'm Joe Reynolds, and it seems like we have several problems on F Street here. And it's been coming up, I've been coming to these council meetings since you annexed me out here, and it seems to come up every time. We're not doing anything very much about it. People come up here and beg off for another 14 days or another 30 days, and like the gentleman said over here, some of this probably has been going on for 2 years.
Mr. Reynolds, we discussed this during the public comment section, sir?
What we can, yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you. The public hearing being closed, may I have a motion on the...
So moved.
Second. On the motion?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
Next item, Resolution 02135, Mayor Hayes.
Call it, please.
A resolution declaring certain buildings, houses, and other structures located in the city of North Little Rock to constitute a public nuisance and condemning said structures, providing a period of time for property owner to abate said nuisance.
I'm going to open a public hearing on 211 East 20th. 211 East 20th for comment about the condemnation. There being no one appearing, close the public hearing.
Move for adoption.
May I have a motion? Second. On the motion?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
Next item is Resolution 02136, Mayor Hayes.
Call it, please.
A resolution declaring certain buildings, houses, and other structures located in the city of North Little Rock to constitute a public nuisance and condemning said structures, providing a period of time for property owner to abate said nuisance.
Open a public hearing on 412 Rock. No one appearing for 412 Rock Street. I'm going to close the public hearing. May I
Move
have
for
a
adoption.
motion?
Second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded on the motion?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
Okay, the next item is an ordinance 0260, Alderman Witcher.
Call it, please, and please add Mr. Hight's name to it.
Okay.
This is an ordinance amending ordinance number 7290, prohibiting motor homes and recreational vehicles from extending into the city right-of-way or easements. First reading.
Move to suspend the rules and place it on its second reading.
Second.
Okay.
On the question?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height. And Witcher.
Yes.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 7290, prohibiting motor homes and recreational vehicles from extending into the city right-of-ways or easements. Second reading.
Move to suspend the rules and place it on its third reading, and I'd like to have a discussion, please.
Second.
On the question?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 7290, prohibiting motor homes and recreational vehicles from extending into the city right-of-ways or easements. Third and final reading.
Alderman Witcher.
To briefly tell you where we are with this, when we had passed legislation 2 years ago regarding motorhomes and other vehicles on the streets, we had prohibited those vehicles, period. And both Mr. Height and I have received calls, and I'm sure some of you have received calls also, in regards to individuals bringing in their trailers from the weekend after long trips, and as they unload their trailers, they're accosted by our code enforcement folks, which are doing their job. And then when they bring those vehicles in again from storage lots to load them up and shell them down and get ready to make their trips, then again, they run around the lawn. So what this does, it gives them a 72-hour period prior to departure and 72 hours after their trip to clean up their vehicles and return them to wherever they store those vehicles.
Question.
172 hours.
Let's just apply to word 4.
I mean, 3 days.
Just
okay.
3 days.
3 days to load, 3 days to unload?
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in those dudes.
Gentlemen, I believe Alderman Berry has the floor.
I'm willing to go along with this, but 72 hours is a little bit extreme.
Well, one of the
I agree with Alderman Berry. I mean, 3 days is a long time to unload and load. And, of course, you know, there's a lot of people that they're still parked in front of their houses. And so, you know, I'm sure code would like to go deal with those people. But 3 days is too long, and I'd like to make an amendment for 24 hours.
48.
I have an amendment on the floor. Any discussion on the amendment?
Well, I'll
I have a
second the
second on the
amendment for
amendment.
purpose of discussion. I like this 72 hours because that means that I could have it out there for 3 days. I could go take it out in the country and turn around and drive it back the next day and have me another 72 hours. And before you know it, I just have it parked there all the time. A trip what's a trip? A trip is that outside the city limits or wherever. I have got a new unique problem, and with travel trailers and motorhomes and while it may be okay in someone that has a 250-foot lot, you get a house that's sitting on a 75-foot lot, and you got a motorhome that's parked from the front of the house to the curb, and I can't get it moved. Period. And I don't know why we can't get it moved. As far as I know, it violates the law. It's sitting right up on. If there were a sidewalk there, they wouldn't have any trouble. The tongue would be on the sidewalk. And I just don't want them in the front of the houses for any extended period of time. Maybe they need to have a couple of days to load them and 1 day to unload them. But the problem is there in the fact that we're getting more vehicles that are parked in front of the building line of homes. And as far as I understand the legislation, I'm going to ask Mr. Sykes to explain it to me again, the current legislation in regarding to parking travel trailers and motor homes in front yards and how that's allowed. So if I'll ask Mr. Sykes to be able to explain that to me, does the current law allow that?
Last time I read that ordinance, I believe it's 15 foot from the curb line. The commercial vehicles, you cannot park past the house line.
But can you park a recreational vehicle past the front building?
Yes, sir.
So if you can park it there, what?
This is street.
This is parking it on the street.
Yeah, on the street.
Or on the,
Or be parked in as to extend past residential property lines on the city rights of way or easements. So that means, did we not pass it to where you couldn't park those vehicles, including commercial vehicles and motor homes?
That's correct.
In front of the front building line of the house?
That's correct.
So we've got a misunderstanding somewhere here of what I thought the current law is.
Alderman, I believe the amendment is on the floor.
I'm sorry,
24
the amendment is
24
on
hours.
the order.
I want to withdraw my amendment.
I'm not
I don't
going
mind.
I refuse to withdraw my second.
For 24 hours?
No, I'd withdraw my second for now. I don't want to wait 24 hours to have to.
I'm confused.
I knew you would be. I'll withdraw my second because this is an issue that has become very grave in a couple of areas in our ward particularly now. In the fact that you have a house, we're back to the original one now, aren't we? You have a house that's here. You have a house that sits right here. and there's just enough room in between them. So we have a travel trailer that's parked here and it up almost to the street. So if you're driving down the street, you can't even see the other house on the other side. You can't see around it to get out of it.
They can park that. Their RV vehicle there now.
Okay, all right. May I?
You need to tell
Okay,
them.
are
you
you-
need to
Alderman
move the
Gibson?
traffic.
I mean, Witcher?
I'm assuming you're talking about the house on Lakeview.
I am.
Okay, and I have seen that situation, and
I've got 2 of those.
okay. The intent of this is to provide folks temporary relief where they can't get the entire trailer within their lot area, and we're flexible regarding the hours. I mean, we just like to give these folks some relief going in and out. To be fair to those folks, they spend a lot of money for those trailers, and they store them at another location. And when they're
Would you mind putting in here that the 72 hours is going to be fine if the vehicle is stored at another location on a permanent basis? And I'll make that as an amendment.
I have a question. How are we going to, Alderman Wright, I will let you speak as soon as I'm done, sir. How are we supposed to be notified when the 72 hours start? How is code enforcement supposed to know when that vehicle pulls up there and stops? Are these people supposed to call them up and say, I've got my motor home parked out in front and I need 72 hours to unload it? I mean, this is going to be a nightmare for code enforcement.
As a matter of record, the only time, for the most part, the only reason the code enforcement would be there is because someone has called them regarding it. They don't run punch clocks on these trailers, and so that I think would serve as notice that the trailer had been there, and the complaint, of course, would indicate when they started their parking.
Mr. Sykes, would you please come to the microphone?
I need to ask a question too when you...
Alderman Heights next. When someone calls in a complaint and they tell you that this vehicle's been there for 2 days, when does the actual time of enforcement start? When y'all show up at the door?
When we see it.
Or when the complaint says it was there?
When we see it.
So if it's there 2 days, then we come out and notice that day that could be sitting there for 5 days.
Right.
Mr. Sessom.
Yes, sure, Mayor. I'd like to add in, however, if you have a resident that is willing to go to court and testify, that was parked on June 1st and it was there on June 4th, I'm confident we could get a conviction.
They're not gonna do that.
So just to let you know, yeah, clearly for their testimony would be the date that they saw it, but if we could get an angry neighbor to come to court and testify, then I think you could clearly get it within 36 hours.
Alderman Height.
This situation occurred when we've got a gentleman who lives out in the northern part of my ward in good faith, has got some neighbors that are upset with him when he brings his RV, which he keeps in permanent storage at the Little Rock Air Force Base. And he takes several trips a year, of which most of them have to do with a gravely ill relative in Middle Tennessee. So he goes out to the Air Force Base and brings his vehicle over to his residence, which he can't get the entire RV on his property, so he has to park it in the street. And then he's got some neighbors that don't like that, and they call the code enforcement office. When I talked to him on the phone the last time, he went out and got his vehicle, prepared it to go to Tennessee, and his neighbors are calling the code office. When he returns, they're calling again. He's got it parked out on there. He's basically, debriefing the vehicle. And his intention was to return it to the Air Force Base the next morning. There was a major thunderstorm in North Little Rock that morning, and he couldn't do it. So he had to leave it there basically another day before he could return it out to the Air Force Base. So this situation is, I don't know how often the code department is, how often, Mr. Sipes? Is he still out here? Are you still there? How often do we get a phone call down, does your office get a phone call from an upset neighbor about somebody parking their RV?
Really not very often.
I didn't think so. This doesn't occur that often. It's not, you know, so basically we feel like the gentleman needs more than 24 hours. Maybe 72 hours is way too much, but he needs some time to get it ready to go, and he needs some time to unpack it when he returns. Is all this piece of legislation is about.
Okay. Anyone else?
You still want to get to speak next?
Pardon?
He can speak.
Yeah, I don't think we got a big problem. Just one or two people in the whole city, so I wouldn't think that that's a big problem.
Yeah, well, Mr. Sipes himself said that it doesn't happen very often.
Mr. Yielding?
What about enforcing something like this? I mean, Alderman Vestal brought up a really good point. And maybe we don't have a lot of problem now because we have the ordinance and most people are obeying it. So now we're going to do for 72 hours and people are going to be bringing them in and out. Well, I'm unloading it or I'm loading it back up. I mean, but from an enforcement point of view, what do you think about trying to have something like this? But you're professional.
We've had one situation where an individual was parked out in the street, and on the other side of the motor home, there was a vehicle parked, a narrow street, so cars couldn't hardly go through it.
Or fire trucks.
Right. So at that time, it becomes a problem.
Yeah. But I mean, there's a lot of streets and between people's houses, as Alderman Gibson was saying. That's what we were talking about, the setback on this other house. You don't want something there, and you have a fire, and then you can't get to it. So, I mean, I think it's a really good, it's a safety issue too, besides just somebody's convenience issue, as far as being able to get down a street or between somebody's house.
I believe it's always nice to have limitations so you can take enforcement if need be.
But you think you could enforce this and you wouldn't, I mean, you could do it reasonably?
Sure.
Okay.
Back to my original, is that's fine to do this as long as there is a permanent home outside of.
In this case,
you make the motion.
Okay, that you. No, I'm not going to do 24 hours. I'm going to leave it at 72, but here to allow motorhomes and recreational vehicles that are based. Help me, Mr. City Attorney.
How does this sound? This exception only applies to motorhomes and recreational vehicles that are stored at off-site locations.
Good enough. That's my motion.
I'll second your motion.
That's going to go
At the end, additional sentence under Section 2.
I have an amendment, and I have a second on the motion.
Can I speak on the motion?
Any discussion?
I want to discuss on the motion.
On the amendment?
On the amendment.
Okay. I bet he'll let you.
All right. I have a question for y'all. Have you talked to the neighbors who are calling and to see why that they don't like this park there? Because in a sense, we're going to pass this for this guy, and he's going to go park his motorhome there and leave it there for, I'm sure, 72 hours every time he does it. And when he does, are they like blocking the sidewalk? Is he blocking the sidewalk? Is he over the curb, or what's going on?
in the cul-de-sac. It's in the cul-de-sac.
It's in a cul-de-sac in front of his house.
It's in a cul-de-sac beside his house. His house faces one street, and his driveway is in that cul-de-sac to get in. Okay.
Do you think
and
this
he's
is gonna...
parking it back there on the back of the car.
And the trailer extends out.
His trailer extends out onto the street a few feet.
So this is not going to affect fire trucks or anybody getting back there?
No.
Okay, that's it.
Any other comments on the amendment?
What?
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
You know what? No. Because it will affect fire trucks getting back there. That's exactly right. No, I'm not going to vote for this.
Dobbins?
What's the amendment?
Yes.
Doesn't matter.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
I'm going to vote against the whole thing.
Yes.
Vestal?
No.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Vote is 6-2. Passes.
Move for adoption as amended.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I second it.
Make an amendment, another amendment. I'd like to cut it down to 48 hours.
Do I have a second on the 48-hour amendment?
I second.
Any discussion on the 48 hours? On the question?
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding,
No.
Dobbins,
Yes.
Thomas,
No.
Barry,
Yes.
Vestal,
Yes.
Height,
Yes.
Witcher.
Yes. I would
6
again
to
move
2,
for...
motion passes.
Move for adoption.
Since
And I'll
we-
second.
I have one
Again.
more question.
No question.
Yeah, it does.
Mr. Yielding?
Surely
Yeah, will the fire chief come to the podium, please?
I can
When-
tell you, a fire truck can
When
move.
when we were looking at the new ladder truck, they were putting cones out and turning to see what the turn radius was to see if that truck could get into certain cul-de-sacs in certain places. One of the reasons they were doing that, and correct me if I'm wrong, is because they were thinking they may have to go to planning and change how big that cul-de-sacs or turnarounds had to be made so this truck could get in there and fight fires and to help save houses. So, am I correct in saying that if there could be something, if this sticks out far enough, it could be that the new truck could not get in there and set up properly?
That is possible, but I
You
can't
don't know,
discuss
yeah.
this one particular instance.
Right.
There are some cul-de-sacs that this particular truck will have to back out of currently within the city.
Right, and I know he can't talk about this instance because he doesn't know, but so I hope that what we're doing is not making it so that fire truck can't get into that cul-de-sac if there is, because this guy's got a motorhome sticking out. And since you don't know this, but you're saying that it's going to be able to, I mean that's just all I'm saying.
Alderman Witcher and then Alderman Gibson.
Okay, we'll reiterate, the trailer is long enough that it sticks out into the public right-of-way. It is on the driveway. It does not stick out past the curb line.
Yeah.
This particular instance.
Okay,
You
my
didn't say that first.
Alderman Gibson.
my question is, do they allow parking in that cul-de-sac on the street?
Yes, they do.
So obviously it will not stick, if it's not sticking out into the street as far as a car, it makes no difference. It's the same.
There's actually a worse problem with cars parked all around that cul-de-sac than there is one RV sticking out over a gentleman's driveway.
Let's vote.
Well, I've got one question.
Which,
Right now, we need to pass this because every time he parks it there, he's illegal. That's the basic reason for doing this.
May I answer?
Because the question is, if he's parking in his own yard, then I think he's okay. But you're just trying to stop the complaints from the neighbors when it's parking his RV there.
Yes.
Alderman Witcher.
Yes, this is an accommodation to him, and I know that there are other instances where this occurs, but their neighbors don't call, and there's it seems reasonable to do this as long as they are not impeding traffic and not creating hazards for their neighbors. And if we find that this does that, I'll be the first to line up to revoke it.
I'm fine.
one final comment. There's a worse problem of people parking on both sides of the streets, even in my ward, than there is of people parking their RVs out just a little bit past the curb line. If you went down my street, you'll see that there's cars parked on both sides of the street, and I would suggest that they try to drive that new truck down Mill Creek when they're parked on both sides of the street, see if they can get down it.
Well, then you need to make one side no parking.
Question, please.
It's a bigger problem than this problem.
I have a motion and a second on the question.
Gibson,
Vote yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal,
Yes.
Height,
Yes.
and Witcher.
Yes.
In the emergency, Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height,
Yes.
and Witcher.
Yes.
Next item is ordinance 0261, Alderman Witcher.
Call it, please.
This is an ordinance amending ordinance number 7176, the sign ordinance codified at section 83-1 et sec of the North Little Rock Municipal Code by limiting the time allowed for the display of political signs. First reading.
I'd like to hold it, please.
Next item is ordinance 0262, Mayor Hayes.
Call it, please.
An ordinance vacating and abandoning portions of Ferry and Walnut Streets within Riverside addition to the city of North Little Rock. First reading.
Do I have a motion?
Move to suspend the rules, place it on its second reading.
Second.
On the motion?
Gibson,
Yes.
Yielding,
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
An ordinance vacating and abandoning portions of Ferry and Walnut Streets within Riverside addition to the city of North Little Rock. Second reading.
Move to suspend the rules, place on its third reading.
Second.
On the motion?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding,
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
An ordinance vacating and abandoning portions of Ferry and Walnut Streets within Riverside addition to the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. Third and final
I
reading.
believe we have an amendment.
Yes.
City Attorney.
Yes, the amendment, which I've distributed to each of y'all, contains basically two aspects. We amend the first whereas clause to state that this is under Act 40 of 1927 instead of Act 67 of 1885. And then the first section is amended, as the handout shows you, it's underlined. That is to indicate the new Exhibit A. And I've also given y'all a copy of Exhibit A. Has a color depiction of the streets to be abandoned, as well as the legal description. And this, once again, is a piece of legislation that we agreed to do at our contract to acquire the Glover property.
So this is all part, Mayor,
Yes.
this legislation is all part of the Rourke Glover property that we've been moving on.
Yes, that's
Yes,
correct.
that's correct.
And it's akin to what we've done with like the Senior Citizen Center. The expansion and development required the abandonment of that street. So for this development to go forward, we're abandoning these streets.
Abandoned streets, what about any of the right-of-ways? Any
You mean the
utility
easements?
right-of-ways?
Yeah, that's been saved under Section 1. It says to be vacated and abandoned less and except all existing public easements granted to the city which are specifically reserved.
Any other questions?
Motion second on the amendment.
Well, let's go ahead and get another motion in a second.
Move to the adoption of amendment.
Second.
And the, the amendment and the exhibit.
You amended it in
And the exhibit, yeah. Amendment and the changes, changing the whereas and the section and the exhibit A.
On the question?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Move for adoption as amended.
Second, please.
Second.
On the question?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
On the emergency, Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
Okay. Next item is ordinance 0263, Alderman Vestal.
Call it, please.
This is an ordinance accepting annexation of land commonly described as lands along Maumelle Boulevard to be titled Richardson Annexation to the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas, and making the Richardson Annexation a part of the city of North Little Rock. First reading.
If we could add Alderman Berry as a co-sponsor of the legislation, please.
And I move that the rules be suspended and placed on second reading.
We'll have a second. On the question?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
Witcher.
Yes.
An ordinance accepting the annexation of land commonly described as lands along the Maumelle Boulevard to be titled Richardson Annexation to the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas, and making the Richardson Annexation a part of the city of North Little Rock. Second reading.
Move to suspend the rules and put it on third reading.
On the question?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
Witcher.
Yes.
An ordinance accepting the annexation of land commonly described as lands along the Maumelle Boulevard to be titled Richardson Annexation to the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas, and making the Richardson Annexation a part of the city of North Little Rock. Third and final reading.
On the question?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
On the emergency, Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
That concludes the regular agenda.
Any Alderman have any comments?
Mr. Mayor, I guess I had one. When does the portable signs, the ones that Mr. Jenkins, when is the last time they can be used? I have a church in my area that owns one of those signs. They bought it in good faith, and it really serves their purpose. When is the time that they must cease to be in existence.
Alderman, I don't recall the exact date. I do believe they've already been banned in the city unless they're on the specific scenic right-of-ways, scenic highways.
But they're banned on that scenic road. That's what you're saying, aren't you?
No, they're allowed on those roads till a certain date. My recollection.
No, I think it'd be the opposite, probably. But anyway, maybe Robert could tell us.
Well, first, the sign code allows only certain trailer signs. They have to have a certain amount of weight, and they have to be certified and approved. Those that you might go out and buy at Sam's are not lawful, haven't been lawful in the city of North Little Rock. You must rent those that meet the current city code, and that's the problem. This church bought one that's portable and flashing lights, and we also don't allow the flashing lights. But the ordinance, I know, has a sundown on the trailers, January 2003.
I thought, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought it was that type of trailer we're talking about, that portable one Mr. Jenkins had. It was a similar trailer, I understand. I'm sorry I didn't see it yet, but the church was upset because they thought, since they bought it in good faith, they didn't know anything about our sign ordinance. Now they've had it for some time, but you think it's in 2003?
I believe those that are lawful under the sign code are to be banned after next January. But the one in question is one of those stand signs that does not comply with the existing sign code.
Oh, okay. It's on Campbell Road, so you may know more about it than I do.
I do know. It went up about 2 weeks ago, best I remember.
And it's been illegal for how long?
It's been illegal ever since it was put up. Those are not lawful in the city. Those that are on stands that you buy at some of the, like, they used to sell them at Sam's and places.
Maybe
those are not lawful under your sign code.
I'll talk with the pastor then and see what I can work out with him.
Any other aldermen? I'd like to see Mr. Sykes when we're done.
So would I.
Alderman Dobbins?
No, I was going to say that there's a group here that's going to talk about trailers, mobile homes. So, and Mr. Sykes is going to probably need me some information from them about some things. That's just alerting him on that.
Well, we'll open up no other alderman has any objections. We'll allow them to come up, and then we'll open up the floor for public comment.
My name is Lynn Welch, and I'm with the Meadow Park Neighborhood Association, and we're here in reference to the trailer park at the 800 block of East Bethany. And for several years, we've asked Mrs. Magnus Realty to address this and move the condemned trailers, and this hasn't taken place. We've talked with Code over the years, talked with Mr. Nolan most recently in reference to this. But I think it's coming from her standpoint that there's nothing being done. And we have taken pictures. I'd like to give those to you. Several of the trailers are abandoned, no underpinning, boarded up, and just plain neglected. And the neighbors are we try to maintain our property. This is the location of some of them. Mostly I took down lot numbers, because some of them didn't have numbers that I could easily recognize. And these have been abandoned for several years. And the people that are living in some of the ones that are abandoned, and most of them, a good deal of them do not have people in them. There is several trailers that are rented in the park, but none of it is really up to standard as far as it's my understanding. I think those need to be underpinned. And Ms. Magnus expressed several years ago that she would take care of this, have some of these trailers removed. That has never been done. And so we're trying to maintain our property in the area and keep away the slum landlords and slum property if we can. And we would like your assistance in helping us address that. And I have several people. Is there anybody else that wants to speak to this?
Mr. Sykes, Are you aware of the situation? If you would speak to him when we
I
get
will.
to
I've talked to the other,
Lynn? Lynn?
yes,
Is she a management company, a real estate
Magnus
management
Realty.
company?
She has several properties. I believe she's on Shackelford Road. Actually, she's running an ad in the paper as of this week. She's running an ad that these are nice, clean trailers, but if you call about them, they will not give you the addresses. Because I knew someone that was seeking housing there from a development area.
Do you know if anybody's contacted the Attorney General?
We haven't yet, but that's what we're asking you guys. We asked several years ago, and really nothing's been done. We haven't come before the council before, but we have tried with code in the past, not recently, except, talked to Mr. Nolan in reference about it. But it's just something that it's probably not going to be done unless some strict. I think Ms. Magnus did meet with some of the city officials about it at that time, but it's been several years ago, but because it was when Mr. Harris was our president there in Meta Park, and that's been over 3 years ago.
I think that maybe you're right. I think Mr. Harris and maybe Ms. Magnus met with the mayor and the other
They
there
did.
too. So I didn't listen to the meeting, so I don't know what was said, but maybe
And
two meetings. or
she
so.
came to us and agreed to move some of the trailers at that time, but never did any of it, and they're just steadily gotten worse. She did have the property mowed. It is mowed when I took those pictures, but it's just there's lots of boarded up, condemned trailers, and we're particularly on the interstate in the transit area. A lot of people walking, a lot of people hanging out under the bridges, trying to find places to live, and they'll seek housing in just about any place that they can find, housing.
Alderman Knight.
Well, I've got the address, 700 to 800 block at East Bethany.
Uh-huh. The church is about the, right on the corner, the parsonage there is the 812, so it's in that next section there, in that area.
Alderman Dobbins.
Yeah, I have a question. I guess more than just code enforcement. Isn't there some type of regulations for trailers, for a person to have occupancy in there, that they have to go through some type of inspection from our various health department, a code, to make sure they have proper hookups and...
Apparently from what I know from housing, it's not really enforced very much, because there's houses in my neighborhood that the people move into, and there's no utilities, not for days.
City Attorney, what we...
Yeah, our standard basic housing code does apply to trailers.
But I don't know that that's really enforced, because there's people living, across the street from me that don't have utilities.
Are they rented through HUD?
No.
They're not.
So, Mr. Alderman Yielding.
You said that you haven't called code and told them about this?
I have. Yeah, I've
Recently?
talked with Mr. Nolan.
Who's Mr. Nolan?
He's one of the officers.
Officers?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Mr. Sipes didn't know about it?
There's not a lot, I don't know, I haven't talked to
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure Mr. Sipes finds out about it. He'll go out there and do what he can to get them cleaned up. I mean,
I don't know what you can do to force this lady, this real estate company.
well, I do.
Well, yeah, that's what we want to know.
Yeah.
So that's what we're here for.
And I just want to... Sorry.
No, I'm just saying, I'm sure that Mr. Sipes can take care of the situation and get out there
Good.
and get it done.
That's what we like.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Anyone else? Public comments?
Gentlemen, acting mayor, last council meeting, I sat back and listened to someone run a member down of this council. Y'all don't make enough money to put up with stuff like that. That gentleman is supposed to be a leader in the community. He represents a neighborhood group. The gentleman that got up behind him and said thank you for listening to him also represents a neighborhood group. It may not be my place to apologize for his attitude and his actions, but I think he was wrong. Anyone that does not have respect for the dead will go to the cemetery and relieve themselves like he did. Does not need to be leaders in this community.
Mr. Ard, I'm going to stop you right there. We're not going to get into that further discussion.
I understand.
This evening. And it doesn't benefit anyone. And, you know, we're trying to, this council and the neighborhood groups are trying to rebuild some of these neighborhoods and keep some of them from deteriorating. And we have to improve our dialogue if we have a problem. And I believe we'll leave that up to the council and those groups. Do you have any other comments?
Yes, sir. Before I sit down, I'd like to word a prayer, if you don't mind, in reference to this.
That's your preference.
Father in heaven, we thank thee for the people that represent our community. And Father, we ask that the vendettas cannot keep on going on between certain ones with this community. Father, help them to see maybe the erroneous of their ways and make this a better community. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ard.
I think Mr. Ard is a very concerned citizen, and I admire his courage to stand up in front of that microphone. He's even put on a nice suit. Looks pretty sharp tonight, so I just want to, commend him for at least being brave enough to stand up to that microphone.
Thank you.
Move for adjournment.
We have some more public
Move
comments, I
for,
believe.
you move for adjournment. People want to speak?
Withdraw.
Mayor of
Thank you.
Annex.
No.
Okay.
You asked me to comment in the
Yes,
public
sir,
comment
Mr.
section.
Reynolds. I believe we can discuss your situation now.
You know, I'm concerned a little bit about F Street here. Keep seeing F Street come up every time I come down here, and it keeps getting put off 30 days, and it keeps getting put off, and all these condemned properties keep getting put off, and you keep listening to people come down here are going to do better, and they got all kinds of excuses. Well, I don't make excuses. I either get it done or I don't get it done. So it needs to be get done. We need to take care of that situation. And I'm going to echo part of what Art said here a while ago. I heard this fella come down last time and badmouth a councilman here, and you should have stopped him then like you did when you stopped Art a while ago. And I'm kind of at a loss as why it didn't get done last time, but it got done this time, you see. So we got that out of the way now. Let's talk about the Nabos annexation. Where do we stand on this? There's an appeal situation. You're the city attorney. Where do we stand on this?
Where we stand on this, some people that signed the petition are challenging it. It's in court, and we had dialogue with their attorney. It's one of those, they have to actually file documentation or motions before we can respond. They just filed their notice of appeal, and we're waiting on them. The last communication we had with their attorney, Stuart Vest indicated that he's going to poll if he's got a majority that still want to contest it, and if they do, then we're going to proceed on with an appeal. But until then, it's a valid annexation until a court tells us otherwise.
Well, you said he was going to poll the property owners again himself, or what? What is that you just said?
That's just what he told me. You'd have to ask him. I don't know what he means.
I intend to, yes. I have, that comment, and I'm in the annexed area, and Brother Sipes have been out and doing some code enforcement out there, and I appreciate it. I can talk to you before you leave here again, but they've been cleaning up that area a little bit, and I've saw the North Little Rock Police out there, and I've saw the fire trucks running the areas to see where we are and where they can get a truck and where they can't get a truck, and I appreciate that, and we do need help out there to get that place straightened up. Some of it's in a terrible mess out there, so I think we're going to be able to work together and do this, and I'm not down here to work against anybody, and whatever. And Brother Yielding stopped by my place today, and we had a conversation about some things that were going on out there, and we got one area where we're loading big car haulers, the kind that GM runs up and down the road on the freeways, hauling 9 cars. They load them all on the street. His property's not big enough to get his own truck on to load them. And this guy's got 3 or 4 of these trucks, and it costs $200,000-$300,000 a piece, but he don't have the money to buy enough property to put his trucks on to load them, I guess. So I have a serious problem with them loading trucks, and he was there today when they were loading some, and you couldn't get that big emergency vehicle up and down the road today because they were loading trucks. And they don't do this just once in a while. Sometimes they do it 3 and 4 times a day. They come right down through the middle of a residential area in front of my house, knocking limbs off the pine trees that are hanging out over because we have a narrow street. And when you try to talk to these people down here, the first thing they want to do is get into nasty mode. You can't discuss anything with them. You can't reason with them. I've tried to reason with them. I try to talk to them. When they block me and I can't even get by and I have to wait 5 minutes for them to clear the road. So I have a serious problem here, and he indicated to me that somebody might be able to help with some no truck signs so they can come in their end and go out their end, fine. But when they might want to make the whole loop here, when there's a no truck sign down here, it's been down here for 20 years and they ignore it like it's not there. And I can't get any cooperation from them. I've been trying to work with them. I'm trying to work, so I need some signs. I need some help out there. And you tell me who I can contact to get the help, and we'll take care of it.
I believe Alderman Yielding is in charge of that those signs.
We got a chief of police right behind you.
Yeah, all right. But we do need help out there, and we talked about this recreational vehicle thing a while ago. I've got one parked on the right-of-way on my street. It's been there for 6 months at least. We need if it's not supposed to be there more than 72 hours, and I think it shouldn't be there more than 24 hours, personally myself, I have a doubt whether it should be there 24 hours. If you can't unload it and get it out there in a few minutes, there's something wrong with you. But I need somebody to come out and hang a red tag on that, too.
Mr. Sykes will be happy to assist you in that.
Very good. Also, another thing I noticed, we out on the 5700 block of MacArthur Drive, we changed that Y street at Parkway there down a good ways. It looks good, and it helped quite a bit. I noticed we planted 4 nice pin oak trees there, like 12 feet tall. Look like they've all died. I don't know if anybody ever watered them or anybody took care of them. So if we're going to plant a 12-foot tree out here at the cost of the city, we should have somebody that took care of them. I think it's a little late to take care of them now, except make firewood out of them. But we did it. We do have a situation there. And to echo what the lady said about Bethany over here, I've been over in that area and used to haul a lot of freight in and out of that area, and there is a problem over there. It's a very serious problem over there. And like I say, somebody will come down here and comment about it, and they'll come talk to the mayor about it, and then everybody's going to do something, but they don't ever get it done. Seems like somebody's not following up. If it were my neighborhood, I'd be following up within a day, within a month or so, or a week or so, or a day, or an hour, or something. I'd be wanting to know what we're going to do about it. So that's some of my comments. And like I say, I'm a new kid on the block, but anybody has the right to run for council in their, in their ward or whatever. Or if they don't like what some council's doing over in the other, if they got enough money, you can move on his ward and run against him. So, I got plenty of money and I'm retired. So, if some of these things, like I say, I'm new on the block, and some of these things I'm seeing disturb me. And rightfully so, they should. Other people too. If you had 100 people down here, 1,000 people down here saying the same thing I'm saying, I think things get done a little bit better. The wheel squeaks the loudest, gets the grease first. So my area is going to be getting grease first. You can depend on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. Anyone else?
My name is Dorian Gibbs.
Yes, sir.
And I live on the corner of 409 West 19th Street. I own both corners on that street, and I own College Park Drive. And if you look at just one picture right here, you see it shows that my house is right in the middle of an intersection. That's a fact, but to skip that, my house was with Mr. Yielding was acting as what you're acting as, assistant mayor. I was so happy to see an honest face. I don't know y'all. I talked to a few of you, but I thought he meant 30 days. And so I did so much work to have in the mail today a letter telling me that no matter what, even though I did spend so much money and did do all this, that it's still going to be dosed. All because, I'm a reforming idiot in the eyes of law. You see, all people are idiots in the eyes of law, except he's a reforming idiot too, but I am too. I don't know all my laws, that's a fact, but I missed one law stating that I was supposed to file and abate this and that, but all I did was go in it with many friends. I got over there, back over here. They are all working. Even Mr. Olin Thomas knows I got all my sheetrock ready to get back from behind him. Only thing held me up was Gary Stiles, because he would not give my electrical guy permission to come in. I know my code's good enough. I've done been slapped on my wrist before because I do know my laws. I'm a reforming idiot. Everybody's an idiot in the eyes of the law, that's a fact. But when I go in and replace all the 2x6s, I got stacks of pictures here. But when you want to look in my house, don't kick the door in. Ask me for a key. I'm tired of replacing doors and locks. But I got some sure good pictures on CD. If y'all would love a copy of this, I'd love y'all to look at it. Because I got pictures of me standing up over my head deep in city easement from me falling in, mowing the grass. So if I got to keep up with my codes, which I've been doing steady, now all the neighbors, I got letters. The man over there and his wife, it's in his purse. He's got letters from every neighbor in the whole neighborhood there that's lived there more than 20 years. And I've known them for longer than that, but they know that I've had $6,000 something worth of surgeries just so I could finish this building, and to have people come over and laugh at me and ask me, only reason I got 30 days is because he smarted off about Greg Yielding, and I'd have never heard of him smoking pot, anything else, but they sure admitted it. And I do got the names of the police officers, and hopefully everything did record right. I didn't get a chance to look at it. But they were wanting to know if I had him on some kind of blackmailing charge. But I thought he was a super honest guy. I called his brother, admitted it to him, and called the FBI because I don't think people of Bar City should be smart enough about one of our elected officials. Because I honor him in a way that, because he did give me my 30 days, but I misunderstood that one word that I was supposed to obey, and I didn't. And I don't think they should tear down my place when they know they're going to need it one day, because that proves it right there. Because you can see the entrance ramp and the yellow line goes right through the middle of my building. But that's a different story. But I did do all the work I could, and all I needed was release from Sykes. All he had to talk about was me and the fishing pole with rubbers tied to it. That ain't got nothing to do with this. That's what he talked to my electrician about. And why would he talk to him about that when I have paid him to come do my electricity work? But he is the only reason I haven't put up new sheetrock and the building would be rented, is because I have David Boyer as my electrician. He ended up helping me roof because he felt sorry for me, because he thought that one might hurry up and get my electricity permit. But he said there wasn't nothing that could get me an electrical permit, all because that right there. I am being flooded by the city of North Little Rock. Nobody has ever helped me with. There's 2 blocks of College Park Drive and 2 blocks, really only 1 block on 19th Street, but 2 blocks on 20th Street that are College Park Drive. Why haven't they been annexed to 20th Street? Now, they gave me a ticket stating that I was a public nuisance on 414 and 416 West 20th. I don't own no property on West 20th. All my property's on College Park Drive, the one that situation at hand. And I'm supposed to be on court. They gave me another ticket. But I have road-proofed it. I have put all the windows in it. And the only thing holding me up and putting the finishing touches on the sheetrock is being able to get an electric permit from him, somebody who hates me. Facts. And I had just been ruled by Mark Anderson, federal law judge. I was ruled on Wednesday that a lot of things are in my mind, maybe, but a lot of things are in my facts. And he's having me evaluated on my properties to get me off Social Security, because I have 10 rentable units in 2 places where I could have one as a business and one as a home. I'll have 12 units. I'll be off Social Security, and I'm spending federal tax dollars to up these places so I can be a better person, because I just got the "and" off my name, and they're legally mine now. But Mark Anderson, the Minister of Law judge, he stated that I was to go through a forensic mental evaluation of me and my property to see if I can make it off Social Security, so I won't be a drain on our Social Security administration. And I'm just saying that to tell me that I have to say that y'all need to wait on a federal ruling from what he has, because federal always overrules city and state, and he did order that me and my property be evaluated, because what I say might be in my head in some people's eyes, but when I can prove it. I told him on Wednesday that I was scared that they was going to come jump me again. Thursday morning I was SWAT team, that's a fact. And I really was. And I did do everything I was supposed to. I fixed a brand new roof, brand new windows. I mean, it's rodent proof. I mean, I really did it. And then to have me a letter in the mailbox this morning stating the dozer is on its way to tear it down is a sort of a sick ordeal. And I could get 5,000 people I know of right now to sign a signature stating that they would never live in North Little Rock because of the way we have become here in North Little Rock. You can't, it's just ain't fair. And somebody, I know he says he knows all his laws and stuff, you see, but I know carpentry. And I went in through every rafter, that'd be true, every one of them's brand new. And I was just, all I'm waiting on is electrical. But I didn't know that I was supposed to file with y'all. That's just one stupid thing that I admit that I was an idiot that I didn't file in my 30 days. But to be torn down over one stupid question one thing is unconstitutional. It really is. It really is. And I think that until my forensic mental evaluation of me and my property from the federal judge, Mark Anderson, and my lawyer is Shane Stanley. You can call either one of them. The judge ruled Wednesday to have me evaluated. Until y'all find out if it's in my head or in my face.
Why don't
We've also gotten 7 letters from people in the neighborhood. One of them is sealed, in fact.
I didn't want to know what you said.
We have been, some of these have been through the years, some of them are recent, saying that we have been taking care of the neighborhood, that yes, we do rent to lower income renters, but we do not press the issue. If they can't afford to do it, we work with them. That means we can't afford to do all the work, but we have been doing as much as possible. We're both disabled. I've got lung cancer, and I'm still working in the heat. He's got back surgery. He's been on the roof. He went on the roof 2 days after back surgery when the doctor told him not to work after 3 weeks, for 3 weeks.
Euling's brother told me.
We have been pressing and pressing trying to get this done, and to put all this effort in to tear a building down should be illegal. I mean, you don't...
It has to be.
We don't have blood, sweat, and tears in this for nothing.
Gentlemen,
I got a comment after they get through. After they get through, I've got a comment.
Well,
as far as...
Okay. He has worked on the house. What we have is 2 problems that have happened, and I agree with the mayor of Navajo's addition on a couple of things. We need to grant them additional days to finish this house because they are working on the house, number 1. But number 2, we've got to find some method that when someone comes in and says, we're going to do something, and we either going to have them put up some kind of financial situation to prove that they have the ability to do it, or to monitor them that they started. They started on this piece of property within a week after of that one. And I will make the motion. May I finish? I'm one of the ones that went to Dorian's house and said, Dorian, we can't put up with this. And Dorian and I had a very much disagreement. I don't hold those things personal. He has done what he would say he would do on that piece of property. You can't rehab a piece of property in 30 days. You can't rehab one in 60 days. But you can make significant differences in a piece of property in that period of time. And once you've got that much in time and money invested in it, you need to go ahead and finish it. And I think he should be given another 30 days to be given the opportunity to finish the project and not get a letter that if he's not totally finished with it then, to be able to finish it. This is totally unlike a project that we talked about earlier that goes back to 97 or something like that. This is a project, this is a piece of property that he should have fixed earlier. He'll agree on that he should have fixed it earlier. And either didn't have the want or the financial resources to do so. That neighborhood is coming back. And so my motion is to allow him an additional 30 days, beginning today.
Okay, I have a second on that motion.
I want to say, too, I agree with Alderman Gibson, because once we tell them to do and they go to work on it, spend money, then we've actually given them the right to go ahead and repair it, and I think we ought to let them try to do that. And I know that you have spent time. I know you spent money on it, and I'd like to second that too. I think we ought to give them that time to do it because the neighbors in the area are for them. They're trying to help them.
Alderman Muley.
Can I hear from Mr. Sipes? Or everybody hear from Mr. Sipes? And just tell us about how much work has been done, what's been done, and that sort of thing.
I have no idea how much work's been done on the inside. I know on the outside he has done some work. I'm not going to let the code officers go up to him unless I have a couple of them there.
Right.
He's had the opportunity to work on this house for the last 4 years. Now all of a sudden he wants to work on it, which is fine.
Yeah.
I'd rather see a house there.
Right.
Dorian, would
But-
you go sit down a minute, please? Would you go sit down a minute, please? You can.
What the inside looks like.
Okay, go ahead.
We'd rather see a house there because if there's not a house there, we're going to have to maintain the yard anyway. The house was condemned. It was to give him 30 days to tear the house down. He was told, I don't know how many times over the telephone in our office, to go see one of his aldermen so he could get his condemnation repealed. He didn't do that. And I don't know what he's talking about. I'm holding up his electrical permit.
Right, because the house is condemned, and that's... Okay.
But let me ask a question, because I'm a little confused. When a piece of property is condemned, can they not get a, what's the meter you stand out in the front of?
Temporary meter.
Saw meter.
Saw meter.
Saw meter. Can they not get a saw meter to be able to work on a piece of property?
Once it's condemned, they have 30 days to tear it down.
That's right.
Yes, and the only person that can undo that is this board. They, under the ordinance, shall proceed with demolition, and as I've said, and if we've seen with the ordinances, resolutions repealing it, the only body that has the authority to stop the condemnation is the individuals on this board.
Okay, now that I understand the rules, we will proceed differently when we give persons 30 days to fix up a piece of property. We will not condemn it at that point. We will hold the legislation to give them an opportunity to do what the lady asked to do tonight, and if in 30 days that she has, or 14 days, she's made no action, then that's when we need to pass them. We don't need to pass them and say you've got 30 days to do something. What we need to do is not condemn it, hold it on the calendar for 30 days, and then condemn it.
Yeah.
And because in probably 9 out of 10 of them, we ended up tearing down the property, and they bought 30 or 60 days. As long as they only buy 30 and 60 days, I don't get disturbed. It's when they start buying 2 years' time, it's when we all need to get disturbed with it. And I think if we leave the legislation on the calendar, it's going to automatically die after 90 days, I believe, if that's correct, 6 council meetings. It's going to die. And so once it's filed, as far as I'm concerned, that means that they either need to make significant progress by the time it's dropped from for lack of action, or we pass it. And I think that's a procedure we need to look at as a council, rather than going in and say, well, and we give them the rules, and many of them, I'll have to say that, and we've in our ward, and I know that Mr. Thomas has had to come back in his and undo an action. But if they made, these houses are not inexpensive to redo. I mean, they're expensive to redo. And so, I mean, if you're going to spend $3,000 to $5,000 on a piece of property to bring it back up to code, they can't spend $3,000 and we say, oops, your time's up, and tear it down. And so we just need to work on our procedures also. So I think we've got a motion and a second to continue.
And I want to say too, I know they called me that the electrician wanted to do work, but he couldn't do any more, and they couldn't do any work in there until the electric work is done. So I second that.
And bring in legislation to uncondemn.
Yeah, I'll resolution. Understand the reason why they cannot have electricity is because the ordinance this body passed is you can't go in there and do work once it's condemned unless this body approves it. And the reason that y'all adopted this was to prevent the very problem we have, that you condemn a house, somebody starts fixing it up while we're getting the bulldozer ready. I mean, it's crazy to be fixing up a house that's about to be torn down. So it specifically says no permit can be obtained unless this body approves it. So once it's condemned, it's coming down.
But we tell him to go to work, but we won't let him have electricity.
No, and I think that's where the confusion is. That read the
Yeah.
resolutions. They say you have 30 days to tear it down, and if you don't tear it down, we will. It's not 30 days to fix it up.
But
It's
we-
30 days to tear it
we
down.
tell
But y'all,
them, just like we did
I guess there's
tonight.
misconfusion.
Just
Yeah.
like we did tonight. And so I'm confused. And so now that I understand the rules, hopefully I'll be able to do a better job of working our way through them.
Alderman Dobbin.
My question is, Mr. Sykes, just so we're all a little better educated on this, what's the what's the procedure on that? Do you give them a certified letter 30 days and take pictures, or what happens to get it to the council?
Initially, we go out, we do an inspection. Yes, we do. We send them a certified letter, we send them a letter, or through regular mail, and we also post a notice at the house. At that time, they have 30 days or 45 days to bring the house up to compliance.
Okay, that's the point I'm trying to make. So before it gets to the council, before you push legislation, there's 30 or 45 days before it gets here.
Oh,
Where they-
usually
where
it's
they-
a year or 2 years before it gets.
So they have ample time to make that correction up to that point.
Sure they do.
And this, when we get here, for lack of a better term, it's some grace period. Because, well, you got 30 days to fix it, or if we get some confusion on that, it's condemned 30 days to tear it down. So there's a significant amount of time to get this problem corrected before it reaches our point here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
In this gentleman's case, how long has this been going on?
I don't have a file before me, but I know since 99.
1990?
99.
99.
It's been
So
going on
3
a long
years. Yeah, 3 years.
Been going a long
What was the event that occurred that caused him to all of a sudden fix it up?
It was condemned.
And we've been threatening that for
4 years.
Before I
Right.
sit down on council. What's going to prevent this from happening again to the next house that we condemn?
I think if you're asking me the question, I think we need to look at how we approach these things. Is that if a person wants to do something, is that you leave the piece of legislation on the books out here, and you has a time and you get a progress report, and maybe you get a progress report every council meeting or every other council meeting. But if they're not making any progress, there's no reason to hold it up any longer. But a couple of things has to happen immediately. Is that the exterior of it has to be cleaned up, mowed, the trash picked up, and the windows boarded up. I mean, we need to put that in our rules to them, that if we're going to extend it and hold that legislation, there's certain things they have to do immediately that really don't cost money.
In this case, him fixing this house up should have occurred before we voted to condemn it.
Oh, no question, but every one of them should.
And that's right.
Every
So
one of them should.
What I'm asking is what's going to prevent this from, even if we set those rules in motion, where they got to do this, this, and this, okay? What about those people that don't do this, this, and
You
this?
just go ahead and pass the
And then are we
condemnation.
going to entertain their
You just go ahead.
comments and
We've of all the years we have that if we rescind this condemnation, it will be the fourth one in 20 years, and all four of them have happened in the last 2 years or less, maybe even a year or less. 2 of them were estates where nobody could determine who owned the property. And then this one that y'all
Right here.
had tonight, and the one we're asking for at the next council meeting. So of the 200 houses we've turned down in 3 years, we've had 4 of them we've had to come back and say, hey, let's take a second look at this thing. So that's
Well-
not very many.
Well, I agree with Mr. Sykes. Is that, I hate to send the bulldozer down the street, and when a house, I hate to have to condemn a house. But if we give people plenty time to take care of it, and they don't heed our quote unquote warnings, then we need to go through with the process that we have in place.
No question about it, but we will spend several $100s a year then, from now on, mowing that piece of property.
I understand that. How much does it? And it costs us money to condemn a house. What's the average cost for us to send the bulldozer to a house?
About
$5,000. And how many houses are we condemning on a yearly basis?
A lot.
6.
No. We will condemn 50 a year, maybe.
50, so we're spending $250,000 a year on.
Yeah, but we never actually own that. We just have a lien against it. Okay, we never actually have in possession of that. We just wind up taking care of it.
But remember, 26 of those got, how many got torn down on their own, Miss Bowman? Several, I don't know, how many much money? Several. You remember the dumpster fund takes care of a lot of those. You've had somewhere close to 20, I guess, this year. Yeah, and all of those were condemned.
You know, I'll support your bit of legislation as far as, you know, but I think that we ought to make sure that this house is rehabilitated in a manner that does satisfy our code. Otherwise, we're going to send the bulldozer back over there.
That's exactly what I said.
Well, jump in.
Gentlemen, I believe we have a motion.
This was one.
Alderman Witcher.
Could we put addresses to this piece of legislation?
The address? Address is 409. I don't know where it's College Park. Is it 409 West 19th?
It's 414 and 416 College Park Drive.
That's
and
right.
if Mr. Ard gets to say a prayer, I just want to say I was married. I am divorced now because there's no longer an and after my name. I pulled a legal OJ. Basically, because my ex-wife is no longer
Well,
alive
I've been
in my
scared to
house.
say that. Dorian, would you have a seat? Let's finish the legislation.
While you're here.
You're going to kill your case. You're going to kill your case, Dorian. Would you have a seat, please?
Order, please. I believe we're ready to vote on this on this motion to. You understand the motion, Ms. Whitby?
Is it to allow 30
To
days?
allow
30 days, and we will bring in legislation at the next council meeting. For both for condemnation and to stop the previous condemnation.
414 to 416 College Park Circle.
Yep. College Park.
College Park Drive.
Yeah. On the question.
Gibson?
Yes.
Gilding?
Yes.
Dobbins?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
May I go home?
Move to adjourn.
That's
Second.
Not a problem.